Alright, today we're going to be ranking every single hero in the Overwatch 2 beta from worst to best. To give you some context, I am consistently a low GM or high Masters DPS player. If you're somebody who's more accustomed to playing on a team, you're probably going to view the game a lot differently than me. Or if you're somebody playing at a lower rank in the game, you also probably have a different view of this. Every rank views the game through a different lens, and this is just my personal perspective of how good and how bad I feel like the heroes are in the very first patch of the Overwatch 2 beta. So let's start with the S tier. My first S tier pick has absolutely got to be Ana. Ana is the only squishy in the game that has a stun right now, and that doesn't quite feel right. Like, I feel like it's going to be really hard to balance this in the future. Just the fact that Sleep Dart is the only form of stun in the game, and it's a very, very strong one at that. Ana's a great character to play against Doofus right now, because obviously she can sleep him through his block. Overall, she's just a fantastic character. It's a lot easier to land your cooldowns in general, considering that there's only one tank in the game now, and I think it's pretty obvious that she's S tier. The other S tier support is Lucio. Lucio has the capability to go into the other team's backline and just take duels. The fact that Lucio is able to passively heal himself, as well as the new passive that all supports have that let them regen health after not taking damage for 1 second, Lucio is ridiculously overpowered. Right now, that support passive is making the support characters with higher mobility like absolutely busted right now, and obviously Lucio is like the king of mobility in the support class. I would not be surprised to see Lucio get a little bit of a nerf sometime soon. Staying in the S tier, we have Soldier 76. Right now, he's the one size fits all. There's never a bad situation to play Soldier in. His changes towards the end of Overwatch 1's life cycle are really shining right now. The fact that he no longer has spread on his gun, the fact that he has 30 bullets now, only stacks on top of the fact that, you know, his sprint lets him take any position on the map that he wants with relative ease. He is the absolute king of the hit scan class right now, because he can pretty much navigate the map quicker than anyone else can. And in a game where taking off angles and trying to out FPS the other team by, you know, taking cover, taking angles, outplaying them is the most important aspect, obviously Soldier 76 is going to shine. Another S tier pick in the DPS category is Genji. This is very surprising. Like, I don't think anybody going into Overwatch 2 thought Genji would be this good, but it turns out when you remove all stun abilities from the game outside of the tank role, it turns out Genji is very, very, very good. There's pretty much nothing in the game right now to prevent Genji from just going absolutely all in. On top of that, his ultimate is still very, very good. In fact, I would argue it's even better in 5v5, because let's face it, if you kill 2 people in 5v5, then all of a sudden you're in a 5v3, and that fight is pretty much not losable. And it only stacks upon the fact that Ana is also meta, so nano blades are very, very strong. As for the tank category, I think that the tank role is the most balanced role in the game right now. I think just about every tank in the game is viable, outside of maybe 1 or 2. But I do have one tank that is specifically better than all the rest, and this might surprise you. I think it's Winston. I think Winston's the best tank in the game right now. I think the value that Bubble gets in a game where there's not many shields is just ridiculous. On top of that, his little right-click sniper rifle shot gives him a lot of poke that he otherwise wouldn't have had. Obviously, you can right-click somebody while you're jumping in, and then do your traditional combo of meleeing as you land to do just incredible burst damage on any squishy. I think Winston is the best tank in the game, but not by a lot. He's not like leagues above the rest. In the A tier, I have Sombra. I wasn't sure how good this rework would be, and I'm still not 100% sure about putting her A tier. I think a lot of the changes in her rework makes her a lot better on ladder, in the sense that old Sombra required a shit ton of team coordination to be able to maximize value on, but I think the way they reworked her, she's a little bit more ranked friendly, and her individual changes, the fact that she does 40% extra damage to targets that she hacks, makes her very, very strong. I think you can make an argument for putting her lower, but this is where I have Sombra. Staying at A tier, Orisa. The Orisa rework, people think that she's overpowered. I don't necessarily think that she's too strong. I think once players get a better feel for how this game works, they'll actually figure out ways to work around the Orisa. Like, a lot of times if you just ignore the Orisa and go straight for the other team's backline, there's absolutely nothing that the Orisa can do to stop you. As long as you don't get like javelined across the map, you're pretty much good to go. But even with all of of that said, I think Orisa is going to be very, very good. Two more tanks, Reinhardt and Zarya. I'm not sure which one I want to put higher. I think it all depends on the situation. Two brawly style tanks. They both benefit greatly from having a Lucio on their team. I know going into the beta, people were saying Reinhardt is like the worst tank in the game by far. I definitely do not see it that way. I think Reinhardt's actually in a pretty good position, and same with Zarya. On brawl style maps, I could definitely see either one of these being played. Zarya might get a little bit more value if you have some sort of DPS that you can work with to bubble. Well, you know, the value of Reinhardt's shield, even though like its health is greatly reduced from Overwatch 1, I think it's still pretty valuable. Next up is B tier. Basically all the characters that I wouldn't say are too good, but I also wouldn't make the argument that they're underpowered. I think Tracer's B tier. I think without the 1 damage nerf to Tracer's guns, she probably would be S tier, but that change is actually pretty noticeable. She definitely thrives in the 5v5 environment, but like I said, that damage nerf is pretty noticeable. I'm gonna go rapid fire on the supports here. Mercy, Brig, Bap, Moira are all just B tier to me. None of them speak throw picks. Mercy, when pocketing like a soldier or, you know, any of the characters that Mercy loves to pocket, you can still get a lot of value from. Brig just existing, just living constantly is very good. Plus Rally, I think, is still one of the best support ultimates in the game, despite the fact that it doesn't give armor anymore. Baptiste is also very survivable, of course, with Immortality Field. Nothing has really changed there. And then Moira has the ability to go and duel the other team's DPS or backline if she wants to, making her a pretty decent pick. I think Echo is also B tier. Towards the end of Overwatch 1's life cycle, I think you'd probably have to put Echo like S tier, but I think the removal of one of the tanks actually hurts Echo a decent amount, as well as they did nerf her duplicate. By now, when you duplicate somebody, you only get up to 300 HP. If they didn't make that 300 HP change, I think she would be very, very good, considering that she can dupe a tank and all of a sudden you have 2 tanks on your team, which in Overwatch 2 would just be broken. So I do see and understand why they made that change, but it does mean that Echo falls all the way down to B tier. Next, we're gonna go for some DPS. We have Ashe, Cass, Hanzo, Widow, Junkrat, and Torbjorn and Reaper are all just B tier in my mind. They all basically serve the same function that they did in the original game. Nothing about any of them stands out as being particularly broken. I have a feeling that we need to look out for Widowmaker being overpowered in Overwatch 2's future. But right now, considering that Winston and Doofus are so good and are pretty much played in every single game, it makes the window for actually landing headshots a lot harder when you have those people diving you. Speaking of Doomfist, I forgot to put Doomfist in A tier. Doomfist is definitely an A tier tank right now. In fact, I'd probably make the argument that he's the second best tank in the game behind Winston. I'm not sure why I forgot about him here, but he's definitely in a really good position. He is the most mobile tank in the game. He can pretty much get anywhere he wants. And I would probably make the argument that if you just like for some reason removed Ana from the game, that Doomfist would probably be the best tank in the game. But in my mind right now, Winston bubble dealing with Ana cooldowns, you know, Winston has the ability to place the bubble in front of the Ana, rendering her basically useless. So in my mind, the value of bubble just completely outweighs everything that Doomfist can do. But like I said, I think Doomfist is in a really good position, but he's just kind of getting outclassed by the better dive tank in Winston, in my opinion. My last B tier pick though is Diva. She's fine. She does everything that she did in the original Overwatch. If I have a Diva on my team, I'm not complaining. She has the ability to eat those Ana cooldowns or contest the DPS on the high ground. She can pretty much do everything. Diva's definitely a solid pick, but in my personal opinion, I just feel like Doomfist and Winston outshine her in the current state of Overwatch 2. C tier, we have Zenyatta. If you could stay alive on Zenyatta, I think he's one of the best characters that you can play in the entire game. The problem is with all of the mobility that's currently very, very good in Overwatch 2, it's very hard to stay alive as Zenyatta. I'm curious if when the Overwatch League starts, we actually might see some Zen comps. That might make me rethink everything, but I think in most ranks in Overwatch 2, Zenyatta is just a little bit too fragile to make work consistently. Continuing C tier, we have Sigma. Sigma does everything that he did in Overwatch 1, and he was obviously a very, very strong character in that game, but right now he's just kind kind of getting outclassed by pretty much every other tank in the game. If you're not positioned perfectly as Sigma, in my opinion, he feels the most fragile. Like, it feels like it's actually easier to kill Sigma than it is pretty much any other tank. Obviously, a good Sigma knows how to keep himself alive, but I feel like it's just easier to stay alive on a character like Orisa or to just play one of the dive tanks. Another tank in the C category is Wrecking Ball. Wrecking Ball has insane mobility and the ability to contest the other team's backline or contest the hit scan on the high ground. The only problem I have with him right now is I do think that he gets outclassed by a character like Winston and a character like Doofus, and even a character like Diva. He doesn't have that bubble to block off the Ana's heals. He doesn't have that defense matrix to eat cooldowns. If you're somebody who made Wrecking Ball work in Overwatch 1, you could probably get a lot of value with him on Overwatch 2. Like, do not get me wrong here. It's why he's C tier, which I consider to be like, you know, mid. I just feel like there's better picks to be had. Also in C tier is Sojourn. Sojourn is good at everything she does. The problem is she isn't great at it. Like, she has her fully automatic projectile gun that gives her the ability to charge up her railgun. Every time I play Sojourn and I'm trying to charge up a railgun shot by shooting a squishy or something, I just always have that feeling in the back of my head that I could just be playing Soldier 76. Like, by the time you charge up that railgun shot, you probably could have already gotten that kill if you were on a hero like Soldier. And yes, she does have the ability to one-shot all the way across the map with a railgun shot, but so does a character like Widowmaker, who can do that for free without needing to charge it up beforehand. So my entire point of putting her this low is she's good at a lot of things, but she's not great at anything. And I just feel like Overwatch is a game, for a hero to succeed, they need to be really good at one thing. And Sojourn just doesn't really have that right now. I mean, obviously, if they changed her, if they tuned her up a little bit, maybe if they nerf Soldier, you can make an argument for putting her higher. But right now, I think she's C tier. Like, she's not like a throw pick, she just gets outclassed. Similar to what I said about Wrecking Ball. Next in C tier is Mei. Mei lost the ability to actually freeze people with her primary fire, which to me significantly hurt her. I'm sure you could probably still make her work in the middle of like a rush comp, in like a Lucio Ryan brawl comp sort of deal. You could probably make her work, but until I see that, I'm just gonna put her in C. Same with Pharah. Pharah's also C. I think Pharah thrives off of the ability to farm slow moving targets as they kind of nonchalantly make their way to the objective. But in Overwatch 2, everything is just so unbelievably quick that I think it's going to be hard for good Pharah players to get easy value. I'm gonna put Bastion in C tier. I think you can make him work at times, but just the lack of tanking in the game makes it very hard for Bastion to stay alive. On top of that, Ana being so meta, Bastion just gets perma slept. And so unless you can get really creative with him, I think it's going to be hard for a Bastion player to find ways to be effective. And then also at the bottom of C tier is Roadhog. Now, yes, Sigma and Roadhog are in the same tier, but I do think Sigma is significantly better than Roadhog right now. Roadhog has always thrived in his ability to take out squishies, but in Overwatch 2, I feel like every tank now has the ability to take out squishies more efficiently. Winston's right click allows him to pretty much one-shot squishies. Orisa Javelin has the ability to absolutely obliterate squishies. Sigma's got his old rock, meaning he can one-shot squishies. Roadhog is kind of the same role as Orisa or as a Sigma right now, but he just gets completely outclassed. But I have to put Symmetra in a tier by her own in F tier. Nothing else compares to how bad Symmetra feels in Overwatch 2. I think she absolutely needs a rework. What exactly that rework would be, I have no idea. Symmetra has always thrived off of existing with shields on her team and playing against a team with shields. And obviously there can only be one shield now, so I don't see how she works in the meta. Maybe teams will run her on King of the Hill maps just for the value that Teleporter brings. I could definitely see her still being viable on maps like Lijiang Tower, just to teleport your team around, but it really does feel like half of her value comes in her teleporter ability and not in the rest of her kit, in the actual things that you're doing. She just doesn't feel good to play. I think she's in a tier of her own as far as how bad she is, but let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching.